right. Well, plenty of news to cover today. It's been a busy week, definitely an interesting time
Mhm.
of year, and leading off with uh, big news. Well, big news, sort of, I guess. Big news, and because it's sort of momentous in one of the industry's major companies. But I'm curious what you make of the actual news. But the news we're talking about is that Intel finally has a new CEO, and kind of in I one of the analysis called him a Goldilocks pick, which I think is you could be taking both good or bad, right? As in just
Mhm.
right, right? Not too hot, not too cold, but also in the case of Intel in their current state, maybe not so great in that sort of the implication being one that isn't picking sides, sort of a maybe not steady as you go, but a down the middle pick that doesn't clearly signal from the board anyway which direction they're going in. So, I mean, what was your take on the news?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that obviously he's very qualified for the job, having run Cadence previously. He has chip fab experience, and he is definitely an engineer by training. So that's, I think, a good sign. He had left the board previously because he had disagreed with how Intel was being run as a consolidated company, which speaks to probably an interest in breaking up Intel from a business perspective. I also thought there was a take on this by, I think it was um, I want to say either the new stack or the next platform, saying that perhaps he is going to be Intel's last CEO, which I thought was an interesting take on this. That Intel, one of the great American technology companies, is possibly on its last legs as an independent company.
So yeah, so his name is oh, that's horrible. Bhutan, is I'm saying that right?
Yes.
Um, and it is interesting because there was some speculation because he did clash with the former CEO around some of these issues. Um, that that he would be inclined to break that, but he seemed to make some early signals that would indicate that that wasn't the intent. I think he actually came out and said that wasn't the intent to break it up. So I think it's really interesting, and I think the street seems to be reacting positively. The stock is up like 10%, so that's an interesting. And I think some steady leadership is always welcomed. But I think personally, from my standpoint, given where Intel is at, they could have used. I mean, we'll see. I don't want to judge him based on him having not done anything, but clearly an indication that there is some clear direction from the board level anyway, I think would have been useful. So I guess we will have to see how this plays out.
Yeah, I think one of the most interesting things for me is that the Intel has been talking about its advances on its 18A chip, basically being able to actually support next generation chips with a 1.8 nanometer wafers. Typically, right now, we look at 3 to 5 nanometers as being state of the art. And of course, the thinner the better because you can put more transactions and on a single chip as they get smaller and smaller. So it's interesting to see for me that Intel does seem to have this cutting edge tech, but doesn't necessarily have the contracts in place to show that this chip has legs. And this is going to be probably Lip-Bhutan's real challenge in the next couple of months, just showing that Intel still has legs as an independent company that can compete at the cutting edge with the likes of NVIDIA, AMD, TSM, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it is interesting in an era where it's all about software. We've seen the re-rise of hardware, specifically chip makers, to a point of relevance with AI driving sort of everything. So, if there was a moment for them to find that resurgence, this would be it. And so, wish them the best with that. On the